anybody. That's crazy.
Both by our federal government, which is slowly being phased out by the United Nations government, as well as the New World, end quote, the New World Order, which is an even higher entity, and who the photographs cannot stand up to a computer grain analysis test, and therefore are retouched or faked. They're not real. The real one, the real photograph of the charred or dead alien that was one of the several that were autopsied is over here, was given to me by a friend by the name of Skip Frombach of Seattle. And his father worked as one of the principal doctors. He was from Germany at the time, and worked some of the autopsy material, from what I understand, along with other people. Anyway, you can't believe everything, and that goes for me. You got to get out there and do your homework. Like I always say, you might don't put your spectacles on, you put your skepticals on when you listen to me. So if we can have a show of hands here, how many people have heard about Roswell, New Mexico? Very good, almost all. Other kinds of flying saucers type equipments out at Groom Lake and other places. Very good. Well, this obviously is a nice enlightened audience. Most of you have probably seen what a black helicopter is, or maybe even gotten rare glimpses of an F-117A Black Jet, or Stealth, as they're often called. Or a B-2 bomber, B-1 bomber, or some of these other sophisticated aircraft that are now being touted as the new technology. Once again, where did we get this new technology? Well, obviously we've had a little hand in that. Our little alien so-called buddies, have kind of exchanged things, not without a great cost. The cost of which has been a lot of people have disappeared. So,
who are they?
I'll blow this statistic by you. There's
same people from the movie They Live.
FBI, Defense Intelligence Agency, and CIA statistics. 100,000.
At least I was able to jump back this time. I was able to jump back quick.
Adults disappear every year, and these are not.
I was like the fastest I ever shook back. Boy, I jumped right back.
Totally unaccounted for. And where are these people going to? Nobody knows. Maybe one of us.
It cut off. It said my LAN cable was disconnected. But my LAN cable wasn't even disconnected. Like, I don't know. I rechecked the cords on both ends and it was fine, so I don't know.
Several years ago, got himself murdered because we dared to put out in print. At that time, I was still working for the government, and so was he. We dared to put in print the so-called Strategic Defense Initiative, or Star Wars, as part of the New World Order.
Come on, Phil, man. Come on with it, bro. All this leading up, man. Get to the good part, bro. Hold on, we finna get to it, bro.
Like it. He pioneered all the ways.
Yeah, that's what I know. They've been hitting me with
very small and miniature nuclear engines, and he even helped build. Why?
Yeah, they do, for sure.
I thought I was doing the nation.
Come on, Phil. Oh, this is long ass story.
It's why we formed a government. Why our forefathers formed a government. a republic.
I don't know if that was
of
really
these
Gauss
United
attack
States.
though. Most of the time when they Gauss attack me, that shit be lasting a long time, man. It just don't knock me off, and I ain't able to jump back. When I try and jump back, that shit just, I don't never. It's like they be just knocking my whole internet down for a minute. Like they keep on attacking it. They don't just, you know what I'm saying? They don't just let up after they see the disconnection. But not this time, and in the other times it don't never say your LAN cable was disconnected. Like it seemed like the PS4 sensed that the cable came out the back of the PS4, but it didn't. But maybe it might have vibrated loose or something. I don't know. I was able to jump right back on though after that too. So normally I can't. That's like I said, it shut my whole shit down.
In the first place, way back 200 plus years ago.
Well, look, I just got to get dudes to the good part though.
Totally, through the black budget, over 1/4 of the black budget, or roughly $310 billion. Of course, you may say, you know, where are these figures coming from? Well, the black...
Damn that, Phil. Come on.
So nicely that you don't do things like that. Now...
yeah, they let bullshit ride. Let that bullshit slide.
Yeah, on another
You try to
subject, I
teach
have a
somebody
number of
something
items up here at the table.
Presenting something worthwhile, they can try to
One
stop
of which
that.
here is, I can show it, is a heavy hunk of rock indeed. It has a weight of about a little bit more than a pound, 2.5 times the weight of uranium. It's not radioactive, can never be made radioactive. It's composed of...
Wait, what is this? Yeah, no interruption.
I can show it.
What is this he's trying to show?
Okay, on another subject, I have a number of items up here at the table. One of which here is, I can show it, is a heavy hunk of rock indeed. It has a weight of about a little bit more than a pound, 2.5 times the weight of uranium. It's not radioactive, can never be made radioactive. It's composed of earth, rare earth, clays, and powdered metals, as well as an alien element, mostly from crashed, retrieved flying saucers and those of the kind that have happenstance to crash in our deserts and backyards.
Where that rock at? After they killed his ass, what happened to that rock?
This is employed in every stealth aircraft, every black jet, throughout the black budget. Also in the very small quantities in the skins of black helicopters. Mironite.
In the skin. Oh, Mironite. Damn.
Here's another thing. Here's a piece of probably the purest titanium you'll ever hear or see. It's so pure, it's also composed with other alien elements to make it extremely tough. It's capable of withstanding temperatures in excess of 7,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
Man.
Our new Phoenix-class submarines, of which we're building 2 a month right now. Phoenix-class submarines is a black budget program. Each one of those submarines costing $208 million just for the titanium hull, which is made of this material. Approximately 10,000 pounds of it. Now, we've got, supposedly, as of the data right now, we've got 106 of these submarines. They're plying the waters and the waves.
Of course I
did,
bro.
Dive to a depth of over
how many times I seen this video?
And hold that for 3 months.
Damn! Did you hear what this nigga just said? Them submarines he talking about, they use that titanium that he talking about, cost $208 million per sub. And they making 2 of them per month. Can dive how deep for how long, Phil? Hold up.
They're plying the waters and the waves. They can dive to a depth of over 7,000 feet and hold that for 3 months.
Damn.
It's a fantastic submarine indeed.
7,000 feet and hold it for 3 months?
Nuclear motors on it.
With nuclear motors.
Run everything.
Damn.
Purify the air. By the way, these aren't your usual nuclear motor installation. They're very small. They're probably no bigger than this podium.
Hey, not to mention this is old as hell.
Weighing less than 3,000 pounds.
Not to mention how old this video is. This video is, what did they say, this from 96 or something? Nah, not a billion. 208 million, he said, per sub. And the hull was made of that titanium that he just said was alien infused technology or something with it. But look, this is from 96 or some shit, 95. Think about that. What are you talking about? They had submarine ships that can go down 7,000 feet and stay down 3 months. How far you think they can go now, and how long you think they can stay now? 20 years later. Over 20 years later. Yeah, he lost more than a finger. Hold on, let's get to it. Let these people see it. Let's let these folks see it who ain't seen this shit yet.
Aircraft carriers of the Enterprise class. But these Phoenix...
Man, them B-2 bombers ain't cost no $2 billion, man. Hell no. Oh, them shits ain't cost no $2 billion for that shit. He lying like hell.
Class submarines are getting this metal. Now, where are we getting the metal? Well, it's being stockpiled in a number of strategic locations. Supposedly, I've heard stories, well, it's being mined on the moon, and I have no way of proving that, one way or another. I think we're probably getting it from Russia, or refining it in outer space. Or we shuttling, basically a shuttle. A secret shuttle flight, one a week now, is going up and back. What are they shuttling? Well, obviously, they've got kind of their own little laboratories up there, space station, and all this kind of stuff. Remember, what you're being told is only just a smattering of the truth. It's not the real truth. Maybe it's 5% of the truth. Maybe it's not even that. You can rest assured you're not getting much.
Don't fly like regular
plane. Strategic metal is this particular
I hope it
bar
fly like it's worth them billions
with some strange crystals on it. Scalenohedral crystals of niobium, titanium, rhenium, copper oxide. This complex group of elements not found on the Earth in specific quantities. This was developed at Los Alamos through EG&G and other outfits. Are employed in all black jet aircraft, all of them, including the, in quotes, sport model, the little flying saucer we occasionally see over at Groom Lake. And by the way now, if we happen to be with a video camera, taking pictures of the so-called area around Groom Lake, it's now, you can get your equipment confiscated, your car, your house. You're considered the same thing as a drug dealer, and you'll go to jail for 5 years, up to 5 years, and $1 million fine. I personally don't think this is what I'm hearing. I just don't think that
they can't detect that by radar and shit.
This is what we need in America, and we have to get rid of it. Otherwise, we're going to die with no America. Here's some other elements. Here's a very light element. It's composed of lithium metal, as well as a alien element, a little heavier than hydrogen, but a little lighter than helium, also employed in this. It's used in secretive methods of propulsion, and it also is in a peculiar scalenohedral crystalline form. And anything scalenohedral, and by the way, a scalene triangle is no side is equal to another side. A scalene metallic crystalline structure is definitely an alien element, or alien technology converted over to our own technology. These were given to me about a year ago. They're called alien or aurora drops. It's supposedly the skins of the black jets Some of the ones that are coming in at very high rates of speed, they're still glowing red hot, white hot, and they'll sit out there and cool off, and they're dripping their material off of them. And it's kind of like a rubberized coating. It's not rubber, I can tell you that. It's as hard as lava rock or harder, capable of withstanding tremendous temperatures, but nonetheless, some of it sloughs off every time, and so they just kind of scoop it up and throw it in the trash
House
can.
them all in Missouri, damn.
Here's one of the hardest so-called man-made
I don't know about that,
rocks.
Pierce. You might got mistaken on that.
Once again, it's got...
They might have a bunch of them there, but they probably ain't got every last B2 in one position. I mean, in one place, you know what I'm saying?
Very advanced. It's about 11 times harder than a diamond, about 70 times stronger than a diamond.
Damn!
Capable of withstanding temperatures in excess of 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
Stronger than a diamond?
It is employed as very thin coatings or windows, tiny windows.
I thought diamond was the hardest substance known to man.
That exceed Mach 5.
I guess they lied about that.
Here's an interesting artifact. Right here.
Oh, really? Damn, that's crazy.
By the way, was an old 100,000-year-old chipping tool.
Should look that up. Should Google it and find out if that's the truth or not. Let it be known once and for all, so it ain't no question about it.
Is a imprint of, it looks like a fossil, but it's not. It's an imprint of a small mechanical part with exactly 360 kind of like little rotor blades. Well, this rock is 220 million years old. Who
Oh, really?
was making machines 220 million years ago? Maybe Von Däniken was right after all.
Who the fuck said that was 220 million years old?
Actual piece of agatized fruit, or it's similar to a lime. It's even been pecked by a bird at one time, and that's still there. So it's instantly turned to agate. It is the same agate or chemical structure as material found at Hiroshima and Nagasaki after the A bombings in World War II, where grasses and flowers and petals of flowers and other kinds of things were instantly petrified, turned to agate. It is the same identical crystalline structure. However, this particular piece is about 20 million years old, and it's still got its original green
You
coating.
see that shit turn flowers into straight petrified and shit?
Likewise, here's a
Hiroshima.
garlic plant about somewhere between 20 and 35 million years
Man,
of
come on,
age. And
Phil.
once again, it's got that same pink agate coating. And here are some pieces of the metal skin from the crash disk at Roswell. It was given to me when I was 14 years old. My father was visiting one of his old friends.
You ain't lied to your ass, bro. Come on.
You think I can have a piece of this metal? Little trinket.
Oh, man, we finna get to it, man. Hold on.
Better less of the truth, there isn't very much to go on. That's one thing. Another thing is, you don't find very many people coming up here and letting you have hands-on experience.
Don't forget this is dead, man.
Illegal, came back the same weekend. I was involved working through Los Alamos Laboratories at Dulce, New Mexico, and what's now known as the Alien Human.
Y'all believe what dude said is real. I don't think he got no reason to come to this conference, you know what I'm saying, with the credentials that he got, and you know what I'm saying, with all the shit he did with the military and all that. And then be coming up here lying about this story. And then to end up dead, like right after this shit. Might not be any aliens at all. Yeah, it might not be, but you have to watch the testimony of this man that's a man just like you, right? And then do research and check into the background if you really care enough. You know what I'm saying? You will try and find out as much as you can about his background, whether he's telling the truth about where he's from and what all he's done, and whether it's any merit to validity to his story. It's like to fool you twice. He dead. He not dead for nothing. That's what I'm saying. When you compile everything with the fact that after he did this interview, he was dead. How about we look that up? How about we look up how soon after he gave this interview did he die? Did they find his ass hanging? What he did this interview and then killed himself? People ain't believing that he hung himself. Somebody hung his ass up there. That's a possibility. You know what I'm saying? Trolling. That's an angle to consider, right? But you still got to make a choice. You still got to look at it all, right? And then come up with your best guess. Each person got to do that for their own self. You know what I'm saying? Dead men tell no tales, like Bill Cooper. They definitely talked about 9/11 happening before 9/11 actually took place. I've seen videos of even Alex Jones. I saw a video of Alex Jones like a month before 9/11 happened, and he was saying, we know something big about to happen soon. I think he might have even been talking about 9/11 and said that if something happened, you know what I'm saying, whatever, you know what I'm saying, we know y'all allowing this shit to happen or whatever, and then the shit did happen. I'll play the video. Yeah, you gotta believe they're way steps ahead. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. But that don't mean they was able to stop this dude from coming out and giving his speech and telling it. It's I don't think it's far-fetched to believe that the government got all these people doing this work and stuff for them, and that some of them gonna come clean about some of this information. To think that all these folks working for the government in Area 51, and they got families, and they got all these friends and families and everything too, and everybody know what's going on here. If you work at Area 51, you know the secret, you know what I'm saying, secrets behind that and everything. They probably make you sign disclaimers and all type of shit. You know how it go. So everybody know what's going on, man. You know these high-ranking military guys doing all this stuff. You know, when they become old men, they tend to start telling that stuff, man. They don't want to take that stuff to their grave. They're like, I done held it all these years. I got to say this before I die. I got to let it be known that that was a lie. You know what I'm saying? To try and help the people that's coming behind them. I believe, anyway. Is it? Damn, I missed that. Bill hates Alex. Now you got it. Makes sense. Area 51 is only top secret base, but not aliens. Yeah, man, we don't know what they got going on.
Human war. 66 Secret Service agents, government workers, geologists, and the like. I almost bit the dust. I could have been number 67. Lost their lives that day because the government lied and knew full well what was underneath. And what we'd done is, out in the desert there, we had drilled four, in a period of a couple of days, we drilled 4 of these holes that went down several thousand feet. And one of these holes kept bringing up dirty dust and putrefying odors and broken off machine bits and other kinds of things like that. Boring machines as well as lasers came up damaged. And of course, there was a probe that was sent down, and that came up totally missing. And so people were sent down there.
Take it to the grave with
people. And
they know that shit ain't right. Anyway.
Got down there, of course, the odor was. And remember, I was in a spacesuit type environment. All I had was a small tool belt with special sensors, a small rock hammer, and a rucksack for mineral specimens and other kinds of things like that. And I had my little pistol. And being an engineer, I didn't have time to carry a big hunk of pistol like most of these Green Berets carry, stuff like that, Black Berets. I carried a little Walther PPK with a 9-shot clip. As soon as I got down this hole, standing
I think they be hoping people believe it.
To this gentleman over here in front row, some feet away, 7 feet away, something like that, was one of these 7-foot-tall stinking alien guys, and I didn't waste any time. I said, I'm not fiddling with you guys, and boom, away you go. And I was one of the rare few that had been allured that this may or may not occur.
I agree with that.
So basically was given ET training, but a lot of these other people weren't. And we were, in fact, it was asked, are there aliens in the area? And of course,
I agree with that too.
Was no. And that was a big lie. And of course, 66 people died that day.
Damn.
I have a big hole in my chest. I lost a lung. My lung was literally burned out of me. My fingers burned
Look at his
off
hand.
of me. My toenails burned off of me. My skin was, I was in radiation isolation therapy for 400 plus days.
Damn.
My bones were vitrified or burnt. I was cooked. I managed to survive. They're telling you something about it today. Other than that, I'm the only talking survivor. There are only 2 other survivors, and they're in nursing homes up in Canada. And Canada refuses to allow the United States officials to talk to them. They're in very bad shape indeed. One of them can't talk, and the other one doesn't want to. So they're regarded as Canadian heroes. So they're being kept by Canada. Okay, this fellow over here. Speak up loud. Actually, yes, there's several. In fact, as I was coming to this talk,
Yeah, you about right.
I was supposed to be here by plane, but there was a subsequent foul-up.
I mean, this nigga need to show that hand, though.
Anyway, I drove all the way and did it in one day. But as I was coming over up near Cheyenne, I noticed military, Air Force and the Army are building a so-called new, in quote, boot camp, prison camp, right up in Cheyenne, brand new. And I was here 3 months ago, I wasn't there. So it's something brand new. In Colorado, yes, there's about 4 underground bases, one being at Denver International Air Base. I call it Air Base, spaceport, or whatever you want to call it. Denver International Airport.
He says 400
No
of
wonder
them.
your luggage gets lost. There are 8 levels underneath the airport tarmac there, end quote tarmac or cement mac. And so those bags could be there for a damn long time. Why, just imagine if this was instantly turned to agate 30 or more million years ago, those bags could very well be the same way. So yeah, there's a number of them. And I wish I had a map with me. In fact, in subsequent talks, I'll have a map, which will be put on the overhead. In fact, my next talk, I plan to have just that. I had planned to bring a map here and had all the latitudes and longitudes of all the bases, and I can't do that. That would be a nice jail sentence for me, so I didn't bring it. So, but other than that, I'll have that all researched for you. Yes, this one.
Yes, if they let you in on aliens, would you snitch?
As far as there being
What you mean? If they told me aliens existed?
Or anything like this, no, I've never run into anything like
If
that.
I found out aliens existed, I'm telling everybody I know.
Al Bielek has been on these tunnel trains at the better part of Mach 2, going from coast to coast in an hour and a half, faster than any jet plane that we got, including the SST, or thereabouts, the same rapid speed. But I helped build a lot of these tunnels, and all of the underground mountain or military bases are connected, all of them, all 131 of them. They're connected both by road, not a big freeway under there, but it's at least a 2 to a 4
You ain't
lane
telling
road.
them to tell you?
Rather narrow lanes, but they're there, and they're also
All right, Phil, you ain't Phil. What happened, man?
Leviton train tunnels. Yes,
I
this
thought he
one
was. I thought he
of
was
them in the
finished.
lower 48. 30 cubic miles. It will take 5 years to build that one.
Man, I ain't hear him talk about how the Green Beret pushed him back in the
There's
bucket.
Fort Collins. There's also Colorado Springs area.
Did I miss it?
For themselves.
Maybe I missed it.
Fighter pilot. These books are available. And once again, you've been badly lied to. I can hardly believe. First of all, I've worked on public engineering projects, and we do better in grinding up road beds and relaying.
Damn that, Phil. R.I.P. Phil.
All right, everyone. I want to talk about our path to this center of the earth. Okay, there's a reason why things in this world are set the way they are. It's like anyone that does anything in this world is bound by the laws of the natural law or the hermetic principles.
To humanity, or maybe they're not a danger to. Maybe they can't help.
Laws
Who
like
knows? I'm still telling it either way.
The laws of correspondence, polarity, rhythm.
Too much questions
and it's
about
because this world it's structured like, so there's the light hole, the black hole, and there's the astral light. So everyone in this world is on this constant loop. And even the ones that built this massive control system that we're in, they have to communicate this loop with these symbols.
Right, that's what I'm saying, Troller.
Yeah, they have to put these everywhere. So they communicate this, but at the same time, they've given us the answers to the way out in plain view. Because these symbols, not only do they show this loop of how the world works, but there's also the exit hole. There's like a big reset button. It's like everyone has this fear of Satan. Well, this world is owned by Satan.
For good causes.
It's like you think Satan is evil because of like what the Bible says. Well, the Bible also says that this is Satan's world, and you're bound by the laws of this world. So now there's also the internet. It's like everyone is connected to this net, and honestly, it's tracking you, it's spying on you constantly. So really, we're all connected to this massive surveillance net that's always seeing us. But we can reprogram this net to see information no one else can see. And you do this with your blood. It's because blood is made with this code written by the one who made the code that created the world. So this is the world we're in. And that's why the elite are just obsessed with blood, and there's all these scandals with the elite involving blood rituals and blood sacrifice. So they do all these things because they know that you can create anything in this world with this code that's in your blood. But that doesn't mean it's just evil, because it's like, it's the law of polarity. This is in everything. This law that says it depends on how it's used. That depends on whether it's good or evil. Okay, I've been getting all these comments on my videos where I talk about these things I get these comments from, I guess they're Christians, and they say things like, what you're doing is evil, it's satanic, we just gotta wait for the Messiah, he's coming back to save us. Okay, you have to realize how this works. Okay, you have to realize what you see with your eyes is a very tiny part of the energy that's in this world. Okay, this is all the energy that's in this world, this wide range, And what you see with your eyes is right here. It's this little tiny line.
Look at that. And you think you're seeing some shit for real.
So, out of all the energy in this world, it's like someone took a knife and
you thought you
cut a
saw
little
everything
slit,
it was to
and
be
that's all
able
you
to
can
see. You thought you saw
So
the whole
it's like the way
spectrum
this
of the
works
shit.
is to
You
pick up
seeing
what's
shit.
around you. Your brain has to function with whatever energy it takes in. So if you're only taking in what you see with your eyes, you're taking in this little tiny drop of energy with your eyes, then your view and knowledge of the world is going to be very small. Okay, anything this small, it can be very easily handled and controlled. And what you see with your eyes is being heavily controlled. Okay, you have to realize what you see with your eyes, you're being tricked into looking at all these ads and logos, and they have all these hidden images and hidden symbols. And also it has to do with like the spinning globe. That has a lot of hidden messages. If that's what you believe you're on, this spinning globe model of Earth. So really, you have to realize it's like what you see with your eyes. It's really just
the
a
stuff
distraction.
we use, taking those other colors.
It really doesn't matter. It's like with these symbols. These symbols you're seeing everywhere, they have hidden images and hidden messages that tell what the world really is and what's really going on, and that taps into your subconscious. And that has to do with what's really in your heart, in your intent. And so that's going to depend on what you're told reality is. So since you can't see anything with your eyes, so it's like, where are you getting your reality from? It's like, are you getting it from what people are telling you? Like what you're told by people in like school, like what you're told by your teachers, and also like religious figures, politicians, scientists. Okay, all of these, every single one of these are controlled by the Roman Church.
It is.
And they've admitted in their writings and oaths that they want to secretly wage war on humanity. And they're weaving in lies and mind control mechanisms into everything to preserve themselves. So if you're just going with your eyes and the words of these controlled parts of the system, it's like, why would you take that seriously as if it's reality? Okay, now there are ways to pick up these other parts of the energy in the world without being dependent on the limited view of your eyes. And you do this by connecting with Earth's energy.
Damn, look at that.
You have to connect with Earth's vibration. That's how you get the heart to see. It's not about seeing with your eyes. You have to be able to feel it in your heart. Remember, your heart is very important. That's what's pumping all that incredibly powerful blood.
Yeah.
That's written with the code of the astrolite.
Your heart got the intent too.
That's the substance that forms all creation. So that's how you have the power to create anything. You have the power to create things to control these things in the world, like evil and fear and death.
Yeah, so have I, trolling.
It seems to be consistent that people in the world that are more connected with Earth
showing it to these people
and
right
nature
now
and
here on
the feminine energy, all these cultures that are more connected with these things, it seems like they always live longer, they're more peaceful.
I seen that Phil Schneider shit probably
healthier.
10 years ago.
They're both physically and mentally healthier. And people living in this control system, in these artificial cities, they typically seem to be like physically and mentally drained, and they're dependent on prescription drugs, and they work their whole lives incredibly hard work for just worthless paper.
I've seen the magicians using that 13. Man.
So
they fucking with the devil.
now you can have the power to change the system if you learn to use this code coming from the astrolite. And This code is in your blood. This is the substance that forms all creation. So that's what we're doing with blood over intent. It's like we're reprogramming the energy in this world so we don't have this system of control. Now with blood over intent, I've been getting a lot of comments and messages on my videos where I talk about this. Yeah, I've been getting people that say things like, people have a lot of doubts about this. People asking whether they should do it or they shouldn't do it. And people ask, should my children do it? Okay, I'm going to try to clear all of this up. Okay, now in this initial exodus in 2019 to the center of the earth, in this first exodus, not everyone in the world is going to be doing blood over intent. It's not going to take the entire population to get this to work, to
they're talking about going
reprogram this energy in the world.
They're going to the North Pole in 2019.
This blood over intent is so powerful, it's going to take really just a small fraction of the population to get this to work.
I hear you trolling.
So it's going to take what's called a critical mass. It's going to take a very small percentage, and then that's going to have an effect on the entire population. Yeah, critical mass, that's it's like the smallest amount of matter needed to get a chain reaction. It's like the exact number as it's going from a slow increase, and then one more makes like a very rapid increase to getting the entire group to do it. Okay, this has been shown in experiments. Like there was an experiment called the 100th monkey effect. Okay, this was in 1955 in what's called the Koshima Island off the mainland of Japan. Okay, so this was involving the snow monkey, and in this experiment, okay, these snow monkeys, they were given sweet potatoes in the sands of the shore, and these monkeys, okay, they liked the sweet potatoes, but they didn't like the sand that would get stuck to the sweet potatoes as they were put in the shore. So what happened was one monkey learned to wash the sweet potato off in the ocean water before eating it. And so this started with the one, and then a few monkeys saw the one monkey doing this, and a few more monkeys learned how to do this, and they started doing it. Then a few more saw those monkeys doing it, and then they started doing it. And this continued, and after 99 monkeys did it, after this, one more monkey did this, and when 100 monkeys did this, this started a chain reaction, and after the 100th monkey, every monkey on the entire island did it. So you had just like 1,000 monkeys doing it, just after this 100th monkey did it. Now the thing was, this chain reaction, not only did all the monkeys on that one island did it, but also all the monkeys on a completely different island, miles away, all of them started doing it.
Damn.
Just all of a sudden, after the 100th monkey on the one island did it, then all of the, like 1,000 monkeys on the one island did it, and then 1,000 more on another island did it.
Didn't even know nothing about it.
All of a sudden, it started this chain reaction. Now, this was monkeys, and this was in 1955, so these monkeys weren't using like phones or the internet. You have to realize a chain reaction, it's like any living being can put ideas into the ether. You can send thoughts into the energy of the world.
They was washing the sand off them things.
To whoever should find them.
But it don't really matter
whoever you want
what
to find
specifically they was doing is the point.
So that's what's going to happen with blood over intent.
The point is, some monkey starts doing something on one island
and over again.
And because all of them did it, the same type of monkeys on a whole other island was doing it. And they never even knew that they was doing that shit on the other island, though.
So,
they just
after a small percentage, a critical mass of people do this, it's going to have an effect on the entire population. And it's going to start a chain reaction. And so it's going to take just a small percentage of the population initially in 2 years. Now, this number of the population that's going to do this to get this to work. Now, this has been talked about in ancient texts. They've talked about all of this center of the earth paradise and Exodus and the population journeying to the center of the earth where there's a hole, or there's a mountain with a hole. And it's also talked about a number that keeps appearing. The number is 144,000. Okay, so there's several Egyptian texts, and there's the Book of Life. There's what's known as the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, and this is also talked about in the Bible. And actually, this Emerald Tablets of Thoth, this is actually an Egyptian text that really combines the 7 main religions of the world, and they tell a clear picture of humanity's true history. Okay, so these texts, they have spiritual knowledge that actually they eventually branched off into the main spiritual faiths of the entire world. They branched off into like mysticism, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Baha''s faith, Kingdom of Heaven, and then just pure consciousness. So it all comes from this spiritual teaching. And it's actually shown in the Seal of Solomon. Okay, these 7 spiritual faiths of the world, these are known as the 7 seals of Thoth. Okay, so it's shown on the Seal of Solomon. There's 6 seals, and the 7th is in the middle. There's the 6-sided hexagon. Okay, so okay, now in this Book of Thoth, it talks about, basically says there's 144,000 that have the seal of God with the promise that God's will to be fulfilled.
Was that really worth getting
and
banned?
God's will is known as, you may have heard this, it's
just to type
on earth as it is in heaven.
That was worth getting banned out of my shit just to type that little bit
in Blood Over
bit
Intent,
of shit right there, bro.
we were basically making a contract with the Creator, with God, that God's will is to be fulfilled. We're bringing heaven on earth, or on earth as it is in heaven. So with Blood Over Intent, we connect with the Creator to reach a higher consciousness and gain the knowledge, and we gain what's called the Great Remembrance. So in this Emerald Tablets of Thoth, they say the 144,000.
Yeah, I banned his ass for that.
It actually represents the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay, so it's 12 tribes times 12,000 in each tribe. So that makes 144,000.
I don't fuck with that dude. That nigga's a bitch.
So now in this, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, when they say the tribes of Israel, or the children of Israel, that actually means the children of the enlightenment.
Sideways and crazy.
So
I'm banning this dumb ass.
it's the children that have been enlightened to this knowledge of the Creator, to a higher consciousness, and with what's known as the Great Remembrance. And this has also been talked about. So this is in the Bible. Okay, so in the Bible, it's talked about in Exodus 2, paradise at the center of the earth. And this paradise is known as Zion, or Mount Zion. So this obviously represents Mount Meru at the center of the earth on this map. So this is talked about in passages in the books of Psalms, Jeremiah, Isaiah, it's in Revelation, and it's in the Gospel. Okay, in the book of Matthew, it says, many will come from the east and the west. So on this map you have, on this side, this half is the western hemisphere, on this half is the eastern hemisphere. So both will come together to this center of the earth, from the east and the west. And also in Revelation, in chapter 14, it starts with a passage that reads, "And I looked, and these before me."
Shit, what up, bro?
Okay, so, and there before me was a lamb standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000 that had his name and his father's name written on their foreheads. And I heard a sound from heaven like the roar of rushing water, and like a loud field of thunder. The sound I heard was like harpists playing their harps.
Oh yeah.
And they sang a new song before the throne and before the four living creatures and the elders.
And dismiss the lies.
No one could learn the new song except the 144,000 who had been redeemed from the earth. So this has to do with.
Dismiss the lies, man.
So what I've been talking about with blood over intent, we're making this contract with the Creator that God's will to be fulfilled, and so we're not bound by this control system. We're not bound by the laws and these kind of limitations and confinements of this world. So we're making this contract to bring forth heaven on earth. And so this is basically God's will. And so we're being redeemed from these limitations and this recycling of death and this confinement of this world.
I think they took a good thing, twisted it up.
So really what blood over intent is for, it's really for those who really get this and who really have this higher consciousness and who are really on fire with this spirit of the Creator. This is who this is really for. It's for those who are really excited and who just really get it, who really feel it in their heart. And there's passages in the Bible that talk about this. It says you're supposed to be on fire with the Spirit of God. Like there's a passage in the Bible where it says, God says you're to be on fire with the Holy Spirit. God said if you're lukewarm, He will spit you out. So what it's saying is, to know that you're aligned with the will and the spirit of the Creator, you have to be like radically excited to leave this matrix of control. You have to be really fired up about leaving behind just money and time, and you have to start getting excited about not listening to what's on TV and the words of like religious figures and politicians. You have to be really fired up about also like earthing and sun gazing and looking up this knowledge of humanity's history and the Creator. And you have to be really excited about spreading this knowledge. You have to be excited about making videos.
What is this?
So that's how you know you're aligned with the spirit of the Creator. You have to be really on fire for it.
Yeah, that's cool.
So this has been talked about in the Bible, and there was a spiritual teacher about.
Hello, Flat Earth researchers, debaters, and debunkers. I'd like to use these 3 coins to illustrate how the math for the heliocentric model can be conceived based on observations and the idea that mass plays a role in creating gravity. But that does not necessarily mean it's true, and it's perfectly acceptable to think outside of that when we understand how the math can be manipulated to bring about desired results. Science has always been about creating or arriving at one single formula or equation to describe the universe and how it all works, ignoring all the esoteric things that make life what it is. However, here we have a 10 baht coin, a 1 baht coin and a 25 satang coin. There are 100 satang in 1 baht, so this is the kind of like a quarter of the value of the 1 baht here. Okay, now it's worth pointing out that as well as Sir Isaac Newton being well known for creating a mathematical model that almost works for describing the solar system and the universe, he was also the head of the Royal Mint for a long time and was responsible for readjusting Britain's coinage to create coins that had uniform value, and so the powers that be could keep better track of their money and the people using them, their human resources. So, bearing that in mind, I propose that what Sir Isaac Newton did to coinage is the same thing that he did when talking about mass and gravity and the laws which are said to govern the workings of the solar system and the universe. Let's say this 10 baht is the sun, which in the heliocentric model has the Earth orbiting the sun, because the sun is that much more massive than the Earth, despite our observations that the sun and the moon appear to be the same size. However, the coin here has a certain value, 10 baht. So the sun in the mathematical equation is given a certain value. It must be massive enough to have all the gas which it is made up of, massive enough and dense enough to have enough gravity to pull a smaller Earth around, just based on the heliocentric concept, not necessarily observations, just the way the model is said to work. And so what we have here is coins that have been given a face value, 10 baht, 1 baht, 25 satang. It is not necessarily, although it might have been in the old days, to have the value of a coin relative to the coin's weight or mass. However, these days the mass of the coin does not necessarily dictate its value. It is just set by the mint and agreed upon by the general public that this is 10 baht, this is 1 baht, and this is 25 satang, and you can buy certain things with those certain coins. So what we have here is applied face value to the coins, and when we have the sun having to be massive, we then can plug in equations which make it massive enough and far away enough to appear as small as the moon. It is purely mathematical concepts which are plugged in by giving the Earth and the sun certain values, even though we have no idea of the real mass of the Earth or the mass of the sun or the mass of the moon for that matter. They are all contrived from equations made to fit the model that has the sun massive enough to pull the Earth around. And of course there are many problems that come in with this concept. For example, with the moon apparently orbiting the Earth like this, what happens when the moon gets around here? How come it's not pulled in by the sun when it's closer to the sun? Apparently the Earth manages to cling on to the moon in its orbit, even though it is going around that way. There are other things to think about that are complete fallacies with the heliocentric model. Here I've put a little piece of red Play-Doh on one side of the coin, and here we have a distant star that we are looking at in the heliocentric model. Here's the sun. So, of course, what happens is at night time, here's the sunlight side, here's the night side. When the Earth is over here and we are looking at a star up here in the sky, how come when we go around the sun 6 months later, our night side is facing that way, our daylight side is now facing this way towards the sun? how on earth is it possible for someone here on the night side to still be able to see a star that they could see when they were over here? It's impossible. That's one major fallacy of the heliocentric model, which really cannot be explained.
I guess that's possible. Let's see what we got. Learn from common sense. Can be taught. Be little by little. What I was about to say? Oh. Hey, check this out. This shit right here crazy. Hold up. This shit crazy right here.
In the winter season, around December 25th, the people celebrated the winter solstice. And so the winter solstice would come about somewhere from December 21st all the way to around January 6th or so. And so the people of the north would celebrate different holidays, have different occasions based upon the winter solstice. In the wintertime, there is a period where there is no light. You are literally in darkness 24 hours of the day. And this stretches for a period of time. Now, could you imagine if you're living in Alaska, or living in Canada, or living in Norway, and you don't have central heating, and the cold is outside, it's darkness around you, people are dying from disease, it's a terrible time, and every family would probably lose somebody, or they would know of somebody dying from the cold and disease during that season. This is the winter solstice. And so when the sun starts to come out, the people now are looking at the sun as a life-giving force. And so during that time, a number of ceremonies were held in northern countries.
Hey, this is the story
In
of
the far north was the Feast of the 12 Nights, which stretched from December 25th to January 6th.
the hidden history of Christmas.
Also in ancient Greece, there was the Bacchanalia, which was held for their god Bacchus, the god of wine and sport and play. The Romans had the Saturnalia for their god Saturn, their main sun god Saturn. And so you find during these times that the people held ceremonies in the north. They would burn bonfires. The light was important, the fire, because the fire represents the light, the life-giving force for those who worship nature. Also in the north, they recognized that there was one tree that despite the cold would still remain alive, the evergreen tree, the fir tree. And so in some cases they would take this fir tree, believing that there was powers of life within the tree, and they would put it in their homes, set it there and put a light on the top of it, or burn them in the front, or they would make mistletoes and put them over their doorways, a type of what we would call ta'weez or tamima. It is an amulet. And they would hang the amulet over their doors, hang the amulet in their home, hoping that this fir tree, that this so-called life-giving force would protect them from the danger of the winter. And so their ceremonies developed around this. And this went on for hundreds of years. We also find in the ancient northern countries, and the Druids of the north, they carried out special ceremonies surrounding the mistletoe and surrounding the fir tree and the beliefs, and they would meet within circular areas. And they had a secretive cult that spread throughout the far northern countries. One of the interesting individuals, and you can look this up if you can find it in the dictionaries or encyclopedias, is a man called Mithra or Mithras. This is a very mysterious character. And when you look at history, you find that this individual called Mithra was born on December 25th. His day of the week was the 7th day of the week, that we still call Sunday. He was supposed to be the son of the sun god himself, and they had a special sacrament made up of bread and wine.
No doubt, bro.
They would make this drink during this time, and supposedly he died for the sins of the people.
Yeah, sounds familiar. Twisted, though. He said that Sunday was the 7th day of the week, and that's not. Sunday the 1st day of the week.
Day of the week that we still was born on December 25th. His day of the week was the 7th day of the week that we still call Sunday.
That's Saturday. First day of the week on the
He was supposed to be the
first day of the week on the calendar is Sunday. Saturday is the
son of the sun god himself, and they had a special sacrament made up of bread and wine, and they would make this drink during this time, and supposedly he died for the sins of the people. Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, don't it?
But when you try to find Mithra or Mithras in the encyclopedias, they, through state intervention, erased the name. Why is this? That is because after the time of Jesus, Isa alayhi salam, when the message began to spread, and they went north, and you'll see within historical writings that Barnabas, one of his disciples, met a man named Saul, or Paul, who later called himself Paul. Paul said he saw Jesus on the Damascus road. And he went to the disciples, but the disciples turned against Paul. Only Barnabas stayed with him. But when...
Dude, how the 7th day always been Sunday when the first day of the week is Sunday on the calendar? You thinking of the Roman calendar? Nah. Or what calendar are you talking about? If I'm speaking of the Roman calendar, what calendar are you speaking of? What calendar are you thinking of?
When Paul and Barnabas went into Greece, Barnabas left him. Now, what is the reason why they all left him? What are the concepts coming through Paul?
You ain't got the answer for that one. You could just say that. You know I'm talking about the Roman calendar, but you don't know what this calendar is that you're talking about. It's funny, you know what my calendar is called, but you don't know what this one is that you're speaking of. Come on, bro. Do more research. You need to start developing your... Nah, hell nah. That's just an answer you're trying to throw out.
Many people say, well, they left him because he was Saul before, and he used to torture the early followers of Isa alayhi salam. But also you can see, and if you look at present-day Christianity, that most of the concepts of the Trinity, of the blood sacrifice, the original sin, and most of the concepts which relate to more than one God are coming through Paul. The preachers are quoting Paul sometime more than Jesus during their sermons. And so Barnabas left Paul. And somewhere in the early days, in Rome or Greece, somewhere in that area, those missionaries who were teaching the teachings of Jesus, Isa alayhi salam, met with this force coming from the north. And so you will see in ancient Roman history that in some cases the Roman emperor would go out to the Colosseum and the gladiators would be fighting each other and everybody's cheering for the gladiators. Sounds like one of our football games. They would go to the Colosseum, right?
I bet.
And the gladiators would fight.
I bet, Troy.
And then if one of the gladiators was down, and they would look at the emperor, should I kill him or not? And if he wanted to kill him, he would say, you go like that. Right? You know, that sign down. If he said keep him alive, he goes like this.
I ain't thinking
you know how we
about
use
Saturn.
it today?
I'm thinking
Yes.
about Earth. I'm trying to figure
Okay?
out Earth first.
Gives that
before I
sign.
move off of Earth.
Okay?
Well, I think about
One of
any
the
other
terrible
planet, I'm
things
trying to figure
happening
this one
during
out
these
first.
rituals at the Colosseum
Yeah, I'm
is that
on
they would
first.
bring the Christians out, literally men, women, and children, and feed them to hungry animals. They would take a hyena or a wolf or a lion and get it hungry and crazy and beat it and throw raw meat at it.
They've been telling y'all that for a while.
And then send it out on the people, and they would literally cheer and watch as the animal ripped the bodies apart. This is a terrible culture. Tear the bodies apart. And so somewhere along the line, somebody who couldn't take the torture, who felt that maybe we can win these people over, made a compromise. And you start to see changes going on
Man, I can get down
from the
about
early
Saturn,
part
bro,
of the Christian era
until I figure Earth
in
out.
Southern
Me
Europe,
personally.
where the major ceremonies held by the nature worshiping people
Yeah, you good.
are
I'm trying to
combined
figure this
with
joint out
Christian
first.
names and Christian ceremonies,
Too much.
and therefore
Okay.
what comes forth to us is a mixture with the two streams coming together, where you get a monotheistic name or a monotheistic character with a pagan ceremony. And so the mixture of this together is what is giving us the present day holidays that we see. Number one, we understand that Isa alayhi salam, according to the different reports of the different scholars in many religions, he was not born in the cold weather.
That's Jesus.
History shows us that he was born during the warm weather. Even in the Christian traditions, they have the belief that the shepherds were tending their flocks outside. And in Palestine, you cannot keep your flocks outside. In the wintertime, in the evening, you bring them in because it's cool at night. And so it was the warm weather. It was also the time of the taxes in the north. In the story coming in the Quran, when we see the mention in chapter 19 in verses 24 to 25, and we see the mention of the story of Mary, because it is the belief of the Muslims that Maryam, may Allah be pleased with her, was a virgin, and she had dedicated her life to the worship of one God, prayer and fasting, and by the power of Allah, that the Creator breathed His Spirit into her, and she conceived Jesus. He said, be, and it is. She conceived Jesus, Isa alayhi salam,
No sex.
without a father,
That's
without
out.
a man.
That's out.
That is a belief of Islam.
That's out.
It is also a belief
Joseph was
that
hitting
when she felt the pain of the pregnancy,
that. Joseph was hitting that.
that the angel came to her and told her to go outside of the city. She went outside of the city to a remote area, and there she found a palm tree, and she found water. And it was speaking about rutub janniya. It was speaking about a type of rutub, or a type of dates. And those who know, who have lived in the desert area, know that when the dates become ripe, when you start to see the color of the dates change, because dates are not brown, you know. Dates are originally red and they're yellow, they're other colors.
Yeah.
But they turn the brown. It's at the height of the heat that the dates become ripe. And so it's at that time that she gave birth to Isa alayhi salam. So from different points of view, different historical points of view and different religions, we understand that Isa alayhi salam was not born during the winter season. He was
Jesus
born
wasn't
in the
born,
warm
no.
weather. So who was it that was born in the winter season? What is that? Who is that character now? Let us become detectives and try to find out the answer to this problem. Number one, you have to understand this concept of Saturn, the concept of Bacchus. When they are portrayed by the different artists who drew pictures of them or the sculptures, they're usually portrayed as a heavy-set man with a white beard. And when in the Sistine Chapel, Michelangelo drew his picture, you could see the long flowing beard, and there are actually pictures of this man on a sled being drawn by snakes with wings.
Damn.
Snakes with wings. Snakes do not normally fly. But in this case, the snakes have wings, and the heavy-set man is on his sled, being drawn by these flying animals. Sound familiar to you now, doesn't it? He's being drawn by the flying animals. He's performing miracles. He's coming out on December 25th, which is not the birthday of Isa alayhi salam, has nothing to do with Christianity. It is the time of the Bacchanalia and the Saturnalia, and he is representing riotous fun, drunken reverie. And so what happens on Christmas, the Christmas season, especially in America, people today are not even thinking about Isa alayhi salam. They're not even thinking about Jesus. They're looking how they can get drunk. On Christmas, what is going on? In the Caribbean and many parts, if they offer you a Christmas pudding, or Christmas pie, or Christmas drink, watch out. Because it's probably laced with rum or wine. That's the spirit of the season. Now this riotous occasion that was going on went so far that the Christian church banned it. And the Church of England, according to historical sources, actually banned it all the way to 1647. It was prohibited in England to celebrate Christmas.
Listen at that. Who would have ever known that?
Because they saw Christmas as being a pagan holiday.
Nobody ever knew
This is
that.
an official position taken by the Christian church, the Church of England, who were known at that time as Puritans.
Nobody ever knew that.
Christmas as being a pagan holiday.
Hold up,
This is an official position taken by the Christian to celebrate Christmas. Because they saw Christmas as being banded all the way to 1647. It was prohibited in England.
Banned it when to when?
And the Church of England, according to historical sources, actually banned it all the way to 1647. It was prohibited in England to celebrate Christmas. Because they saw Christmas as being a pagan holiday. This is an official position taken by the Christian church, the Church of England, who were known at that time as Puritans. What happened was an individual was superimposed. A name was superimposed. We hear about the name of Saint Nicholas. Saint Nicholas. Now, Saint Nicholas himself is actually coming from the ancient writings of Beowulf. And in these writings, which are done in the Scandinavian region, we find the name Nick or Nickel or Nicker. He was known as a demon. The deep.
I think they're doing something. Man, my internet tripping, man. That's why that's doing that. How am I still? The hard wire is still working. The hard wire is working to the PS4, but the wire is tripping. Come on, G. I guess I'm done with this shit. The Wi-Fi is dead. Damn, it's cold. It's cold, bro. Damn, G. Let's see if I can try and get it back. Looking good. It's telling me to shut it down. Let's see, hold up. think this shit dead, man. I think this shit. That shit done deal. Oh, this shit dead, man. Shit dead as a doorknob. Say, same thing. Constantinople, dead. Start doing what? I missed that shit. Damn, how the fuck, man? How can the Wi-Fi, how can the hard wire be working from the damn router, but the Wi-Fi ain't working? Come on, G. This technology is lame sometimes, though. Oh well. Y'all have a good night, man. I know I'll be back with some more good information and good knowledge next time. Appreciate y'all hanging out, man. We'll catch y'all later.